track 1 on the album Within the Astral Abscess wasn't originally the first track that was intended to be for the album.
No.
The first song that we ever wrote for the album was track number 2.
Yeah, track 2.
And that one was written back in 2016, and it's virtually unchanged.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was funny. We were doing Malediction, and we were already working on material that we were going to do even after that. So just typical of how we seem to work.
Yeah. But track 1, once we decided that we needed a really strong song to open up the album, we wanted the album to not have any samples, nothing in the beginning, just right in, and that's kind of how we started writing that album. Okay, how should it just go right in? And Neil probably did.
Oh, I just think of it, you're cracking out that CD, you slide it in, what's the first thing you're going to hear? And for some reason, we just came up with, and it's straight in, right?
Straight in, yeah.
And I think it's got incredible feel. It's got incredible energy or whatnot to really kick an album off.
Yeah, and the song itself was written pretty quickly, like most of the songs.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And there's a section in that song where we weren't 100% sure if we were going to keep. It was kind of happy sounding, if you will, progressive sounding.
Yeah, it's quite progressive for us. I mean, I don't want to use the word departure. It's definitely different from anything that we've done on the first album and second album. But I mean, I think overall it's worked out extremely well. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's one of those songs that has, if you were to just listen to track 1 on the album, you'd get a good idea of what we sound like across the board.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, you can tell. I mean, the influences and feels and stuff like that throughout the track. I think I'm pretty proud of the track. It's a challenging one, certainly for me to play. I mean, the whole second half of the song is pretty much just all double kick for me. So it's quite a challenging track to play, but it's an enjoyable one for sure.
Yeah, solid track, really fun to play. And when we warm up at rehearsals, track 1 is like our go-to because it's super hard.
Yeah, sure.
But it's got some breaks.
Warm up, but I mean, it's it's a fun track to play.
Yeah. So track 2, which is Behold the Apex of Decay, was originally the first song that we wrote for this album, and it was those ideas that, it became the track that we mirrored everything after. We basically compared every new song that we wrote to track 2.
Oh, absolutely.
And we said, is it better than track 2?
For years, right? I mean, because again, we had that second track was originally going to be how the album was going to start.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had that since I think we started writing it in 2015.
Yeah.
And it was playable in 2016 and solidified in 2016.
Yeah.
And we played it for years, even when we were, trying to, do the whole tour cycle or whatnot with Malediction.
Yeah, we played that song live actually a couple times, and it was a song that like no one really knew how to play 100%, but the crowd really responded to it because it has some parts in there that if you listen to track 2, there's like a mix of every possible style of metal in that track. Yeah. So we've always really enjoyed it, and it's one of the funnest songs to play.
It's a blast to play. I mean, again, it's got some real slow, groovy parts to it. I mean, it's got that kind of triplety thing in the middle of it or whatnot, which really was different for us.
Yeah.
I think to do that, especially being so progressive back in 2015 or 2016 for us, it was very different. And then the whole outro of the song, again, like a real kind of slow, mid-pace, groovy riff.
Yeah. We kind of wanted the end of that track to be sort of like the end of our first track on In the Wake of Pestilence, Dehumanized, has a kind of similar kind of like riff feel. And when we originally were writing this track, it was in our mind, it was going to be the first song in the album. So we kind of, wanted it to mirror a little bit the first track on our first album. But really fun song to play.
It's a blast to play live. I mean, it's one of my favorite tracks to play live.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's one of those songs I think that best kind of encapsulates what we were trying to do for this album, which is we wanted this album to be an entirety of what we're about musically. And this song was really like the first step in that direction, and I've never gotten sick and tired of it. and it's one song that we wrote pretty much like in one shot and hasn't changed.
Yeah, yeah, and not sick of it up until now.
No, and you actually did a playthrough video.
I did, yeah, did a playthrough video for it, which was again a lot of fun, and I mean, you know, it'll be on the channel to check out. But no, it's like I said, it's one of my favorite tracks to play, so always enjoy it.
Track number 3, which is Engineering the Wvrmhorde, is an interesting song because there are, like, half of the song was written back in 2016, and then we were playing a version of what is now track 3 forever, which had some of the, like, majority of the riffs towards the later part of the song as, like, you know, the original track. And then after playing it and listening to it a bunch of times, like some of the demos that we had, the first half just wasn't driving with us anymore. It just now wasn't like...
No, and typical of us, we'll just kind of lop off the first half and get rid of it and keep the second half and rewrite the whole first half. I mean, you'll see it's a theme throughout everything we do.
Yeah.
But no, we did that. For me in that song, I think the Morbid Angel-esque feel riff that's in that, I think is like one of the most killer riffs to play. It's just, I know it's not a million miles an hour, whatnot, but it's just so aggressive and hateful when we play it. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of my favorites in that. Yeah, it's one of the, when we get to that section, I always feel like David Vincent's gonna kick down the door and be like, copyright, motherfuckers. But yeah, no, it just shows you how influenced we are by like some of the old Morbid Angel stuff, and this track's got a lot of cool elements. And typical of us, it's got some parts that that never repeat. Obviously, we're big fans of just moving on to the next riff and fucking forgetting about the last one. Song structure, we don't really do that. That's like the window. There was like a section in that song where Neil was like, man, there's this great track from Angel Corpse that has like this killer riff. And then we were like listening to it on our phones. Yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, we could rip that off. Exactly. And we just did our best like Angel Corpse imitation. So it's got a lot of cool things like that. And that track in particular is just a mashup of what Neil and I love in death metal or extreme music. And it's just managed to kind of come out into a track. Yeah, no, really proud of it.